Hey yo, so Jesse. This morning I'm going to read Proverbs chapter 1, verses 23 to 26. And this is a continuation of the allegory of wisdom talking to the unwise in a convincing argument to a convincing, not so offensive, but very like, hey, you're still pretty dumb and what you're doing is wrong kind of thing. It's a very serious argument, but it's trying to be as inoffensive as possible, I would think. At least that's the way it reads in the English language. So let's go ahead and read the verses that I've got. And talk about it. Verse 23. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called and ye refused. I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. Okay, so we talked about verse 23 yesterday, and how sometimes it takes a while to turn at reproof. There are a lot of human beings, especially today, that biblical wisdom and staying out of trouble wisdom is almost considered a bad thing today in these times. And simple things like integrity in wedlock, or getting up and going to work on time, or treating other folks honestly and decently, and not swearing a lot. These things are often rejected in modern society as being too straight, too religious, too whatever, and that's what's wrong with the world. We ought to be able to do whatever we want. And so, especially in these times, like right before Jesus returns, when it talks about wisdom having called and we refused, the whole world is doing that. It's not just part of Christianity or part of Judaism. There's a few folks that listen to righteousness these days. And even that's debatable, because, if you don't have the God of the Bible and you're teaching something that's not of the Bible, and I would say, in my opinion, that Trinity views are not of the Bible, and neither are oneness. The God of the Old Testament was Yahweh, the Father, as a singular being who controls all spirit, and that spirit is part of him. He has a body, a physical form that looks like that of mankind, but his existence extends in spirit unto infinity in all directions. Height, width, depth, time past, time future. Okay? And that's a being that is very, very different than what's taught as today by modern churches. You know, that type of being is still taught by Jewish scholars. And it's taught by biblical Unitarians. Okay? And those are the only folks that have the God of the Bible. And they're called biblical Unitarians and monotheists for a reason. Okay? Biblical Unitarians believe literally what's written in the Bible. And when you branch out from that, well, you've diverged from what's in the Bible. And monotheists are, what the Jewish like to call themselves. Because they don't believe in a Messiah or a Christ at all, having already appeared for them. And that would be the distinction between the two. So anyway, getting back on subject. Why does it say, "and no man regarded"? Wisdom says, "I have stretched out my hand and no man regarded." Part of wisdom is not testing wisdom to your own destruction. And and I can say I've tested wisdom. I definitely have. And I've been found lacking. Okay? Let me put it that way. Solomon did exactly the same thing, except even worse, because he surrounded himself with pagan wives and sacrificed unto them and went and experienced all these things that, drunkenness and whoring around and whatever he wanted to do, he did it. And it's like, well, he was wise, he had the wisdom, but he didn't regard it. Right? So like, that's a problem. Just because you know something, because you have the intelligence, the understanding, the wisdom, and can express things, or even internalize them in your life to some extent, doesn't mean you've regarded it properly, right? And I've seen folks that had certain types of wisdom that was written in Proverbs or Ecclesiastes or whatnot, and they didn't consider themselves to be wise, but they practiced it. And let me tell you, there's a very large difference between having the knowledge and practicing the knowledge. And not one person can practice all of wisdom. It's just, we're human beings. We're children of the flesh, born with no knowledge, and chaotic impulses, and we would be lucky if we got like 10% of what's written in Proverbs right in our life. Like, really, when you go through Proverbs, you're doing really good if you get some of it right. And if you get more than that, the better that your life is going to get. To a point, okay? Because with wisdom comes the sadness of understanding how badly the world is screwed up, and how badly your children are messed up, and how badly your family and your church and the world around you is messed up, and how badly human beings actually treat each other. Okay? So wisdom is good, but with it comes deep sadness. So if you're going to study wisdom, by all means do so. But understand that it's going to change you, and the knowledge of what surrounds you and what you are capable of yourself will sadden you. So do things that you enjoy, like wholeheartedly pursue a career that you enjoy, wholeheartedly pursue, having a loving family, and surrounding yourself with a good social group. Like, because if you're going to study wisdom, you need the human beings that you love in your life to counteract the sadness. if at all possible. You need to have things in your life that you absolutely, wonderfully love in order to counteract that. So that, wisdom has called and we refused. Well, part of it is the chaotic impulses. Part of it is because we spend too much time testing it. And part of it is just because we're human and we can't. Okay, next verse. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. Well then, the culmination of that is in the world today. We have knowledge, technical knowledge of how the world works, a lot of facts out there. We have understanding of the way the world works. And we have a lot of human collective wisdom, right? Well, look at what large sectors of humanity are doing. The atheists in this country, it's like, getting close to 50% of everybody is atheist or agnostic. Okay, that's a large section of humanity that rejects a God, and with that comes rejection of wholesome morals and things of that nature, and rejection of business practices, or rather, rejection of history as fact. With that type of thing comes, look at the religious sector. The religious sector is not doing good either, the Muslims are hating on everybody. A lot of the different pagan groups do their thing, and I don't really know what all that is. Some of it's dark, and some of it's like, they're just, doing their thing, And even among folks that are searching for righteousness, we're very well impacted by the society around us, and we're having a hard time keeping ourselves from sin, keeping ourselves on the right path because of what's around us. There's a lot of distractions. Social media is a big thing, and it can take up a lot of time, but that doesn't get any work done. Not unless you're doing preaching and evangelizing and teaching and writing on the internet, and that's acceptable to an extent, but you still need to spend time making money so you can practice charity, So that's kind of a thing that's like, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being righteous, and these days, because of time, because of economy, because of things of that nature, it's getting harder. So, and because of society. But look at this thing, I have stretched out my hand, and no man. Oh, wait a second. You have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. So, one of the things that is a thing is hey, it's going to be the Bible says, don't cut yourself, right? That's in the Torah, actually, and in the New Testament, we're not to. Our bodies are supposed to be considered a temple unto the Lord, and we're supposed to maintain that temple and not scar it and stuff like that. So, or tattoo it or what have you, But when you look at that, and we're not talking about just the simple stuff, we're talking about whole-on body modification, right? The wisdom is, hey, don't do anything that hurts to yourself, and keep your body in a wholesome condition, right? Well, you look at sectors of our community where folks have these humongous tattoos. They don't have just an ear piercing or a nose ring or whatever. They're like porcupine quills sticking out of their face. They got so many, things attached to their skin and stuff like that. And And is that a godly trait? And then comes with that comes, you know, a lot of the gals put so much makeup on their face that it you know, it changes the skin of their face. That can cause cancer in some cases, if you're using bad products. Not all the time. But typically, it also, makeup tends to add wrinkles, or at least it used to. The newer products maybe different. I don't really know. I don't wear makeup. Okay, and don't get me wrong, it makes a gal look good. It really does, especially the way it's done in modern times without too much craziness. But you have to understand that this reproof is like, we have a whole sector of humanity that's getting involved with body modifications. And when they get older and they take all the piercings out, or they look at themselves in the mirror with faded and wrinkly tattoos, you can get them refreshed, sure, and you can get them lasered off, but it's still like, that's a process, you know, and it's painful and it hurts. And then you look at folks that are going through, you know, like the tongue splitting stuff, or you know, teeth modification, or gender change, or what have you. You know, these kind of things, like, do not listen to reproof. You can't tell somebody that got a bunch of tattoos, hey, you shouldn't do that. They're going to be like, well, where in the Bible does it say I can't have tattoos? They're going to get hostile. You tell somebody that's going through a gender change, and they're just going to be like, well, I don't really believe that. And then they're going to get really hostile. You know, to the point of violence. You talk to somebody about too many piercings or whatever, and depending on who it is, they may scream at you. I've seen people do it. Just for asking them to take their piercings out before they enter a church, because it's a place of God, right? So that is, we're looking at times where especially humanity is set at naught wisdom. Okay? And that even goes for business practices and science. You know, in science, we're finding out that there's these false research papers coming out, you know, that are based on bad data and twisted and malformed, manipulated data. You know, they throw out the data points they don't like and keep the rest of them and show something different, because they want to get a PhD and they want to prove a thing that is in their political interest or their personal viewpoint, their personal worldview, instead of proving out truth, right? That's what colleges were set out for. That's what PhDs were for. That's what research papers were for studying the way the world actually is, not studying to make the way the world, not studying and proving something so that you can make the world the way you want. That's not what that was for. So we have on the collegiate level, human beings setting at naught the counsel of wisdom and reproof. You know, and in politics, well, what we have with Trump and the Republicans in America today, they're trying to listen to some wisdom and some counsel and some reproof, okay? They're doing what they can, but they're not completely on board with it. Because, like, there's variety of opinion on abortion, and that's murder of babies. You know, there's a variety of opinion on gender change and gender equality, and that's not biblical, and there's a variety of opinion on all kinds of various different things that are unbiblical, and it's like, all right, well, they're getting the economy on track, and they're doing the business, and maybe it'll turn out good. We don't know. It's as good as we can hope for in the times that we're in, is what I think. And maybe if Yahweh he responded to prayers and put somebody more excellent in power, well, maybe we could have a fantastic thing, right? But I think that's pretty much, that's what we're going to get until Jesus returns, is that style of governance that Trump has got. And I think it's as wholesome of a thing for Americans as possible. Having said that, politics in the world is going to be bad. Like they have definitely said it not, counsel and would none of my reproof, because a lot of countries hate Israel. We're lucky that our country has been prophesied as being on the right side during the Battle of Armageddon. It doesn't mean the country itself won't be destroyed afterwards, because there's a lot of sin in America. Like the California wildfires are an example of Armageddon, what it's going to be like. It's not going to be good. But as a country, at least we get to fight on the right side during that battle, right? So, support what we can do to listen to the counsel and the reproof, and to be good within the times that we live in, because the end result is terrifying. Now, but ye have said it not all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When a person's smart and they're watching somebody do something stupid, and somebody has one of them dumb hold my beer moments, or they're just doing something stupid and everybody else is watching them, and they're like, man, that ain't gonna work out good. And they watch it, and the bad thing that they were thinking happens. Yeah, people laugh at each other when they do stupid things. Do you want to be the butt of a bad joke? I mean, look at all the bad memes on the internet, Do you want to be that? Really? So, and the other thing is it's written in the Bible that God, Yahweh, He laughs when the wicked are destroyed. Okay? It's like a ha ha ha, I got him. Ha ha ha, finally done with that. Got rid of that. Okay? Do you want Yahweh, He to laugh at you like that? Think about it. It would be much better if at the judgment Jesus says, well, you've done some pretty stupid stuff, but you're going to be all right. It's okay. That would be fantastic. On the other hand, you don't want to mess around and make things so bad that there's no discussion, just a sword, right? Because that's where the world is going now. Like, and we live in the time of judgment. We live in the time of judgment. And it's not going to get better until Jesus returns. And it's going to get a lot worse. And it's going to be really dark. right? And so we can choose wisdom and perform it, and with that comes grace, mercy, and prosperity, and justice and equity, and all the wonderful, good, wholesome, truthful things of the Bible. Or we can choose to go the other way, and with that choice comes various levels of loss of those good things, right? So, like, if you don't want to make wise choices, well, consider how many consequences you think your shoulders can bear to live the lifestyle that you choose rather than the wise one, right? And think about what you can do as little tiny bits of things you can do to make small changes in your life that are wise, because we're human beings, right? And if we can change a little bit at a time for the good, well, it might not be enough in the long run, but given enough time, if we can change just a little bit at a time and become wiser, all of us, the world will be a better place. Our lives will be better. So consider that. And also consider this, that like with the lack of wisdom, with the rejection of wisdom, comes fear, right? So and destruction, like destruction comes too. So just, like, I'm not going to say think about things before you do it, because we're human and sometimes we just don't. But give consideration to wisdom before not before a thing happens, because you can't really give consideration to wisdom as a habit, as a continual habit. And keep those things in your mind, because when the time comes that something might happen that's bad, if you keep wisdom and you guard wisdom and you try to remember wisdom for the time that you need it, then the chances are that you'll make a better choice are much greater. And if you throw the wisdom out when that choice comes, well, don't expect the results to be good, right? So that's something to think about. And consider. And I would like some comments, if you like what I had to say, give it the old thumbs up, subscribe, and tell me how smart you are. Tell me how stupid I am. That's all right too. I just like discussion. So, all right, y'all have a good one. Have a good morning.